Camilla was incredibly happy and still couldn't believe that she, a girl from a small village, got accepted into a prestigious university. Her mother looked at her with pride. "The whole village is talking about you." "Well, my dear, don't disappoint us," her mother said. "I promise, Mom, you won't be ashamed of me," Camilla replied. Camilla was raised by her mother and grandmother. Her father left the family when she was 3 years old and had not been a part of her life since. Vague memories of her father remained with Camilla. His prickly mustache was what she remembered. Camilla's grandmother was very worried about her granddaughter. The big city frightened her. "I'm afraid to let you go, my dear. My heart aches just thinking about it. How will you manage there, so far away from home, in such a huge city? I don't like it at all," the old woman said, wiping away a tear. "Everything will be fine, Grandma. I'll handle it. A big city means big opportunities," Camilla assured her. "Look, my dear granddaughter, don't trust city men. Don't get involved with anyone there. We'll find you a husband here. What about Derek? Why not marry him? Ever since he found out you were leaving, he hasn't been the same," her grandmother suggested. "Grandma, I'm going there to study. I won't get involved with anyone. Don't worry. First, I need to finish university, and then I can think about marriage," Camilla replied. "But I'm still worried, my granddaughter. Oh, my heart is restless." Camilla had a hard time fitting in with other female students. She was considered old-fashioned, dressing modestly and behaving similarly. Many of them secretly mocked her. "Camilla, why don't you buy yourself some decent clothes? Where did you get that coat?" "Probably from your grandma's wardrobe." Leona, the daughter of a wealthy father, taunted Camilla the most. Leona bought nice clothes, often even imported ones. However, she wasn't blessed with the same looks or figure as Camilla, which made her openly envious. Though it hurt to hear the mockery, Camilla didn't show it and endured the insults silently. She couldn't afford to buy herself new clothes. Camilla lived in a student dormitory. Her roommates would go out in the evenings, attend parties, while Camilla spent all her free time with her textbooks. It was no wonder that Camilla became one of the top students. "Listen, Camilla, I see how smart you are. Help me with this test." Leona approached her one day. "Not just like that, of course. I'll reward you. I have a dress. You've never seen such beauty before. Imagine how you'll be the goddess of your village when you come back in the summer." Leona barely held back her laughter. "I don't need your dress, and I won't help you," Camilla replied, feeling offended. "Well, I guess I didn't think it through." Leona gave her a disdainful look. "Why would you need such a thing?" After that conversation, Camilla devoted every spare minute to her studies. She frequented libraries, borrowed specialized books, and read. Camilla was confident that her hard work would help her achieve much in life. No one would dare to laugh at her again. After finishing her first year with excellent grades, Camilla went home for vacation and shared stories about her studies with her mother and grandmother. "Tell us about the city. It must be beautiful," her mother requested. "Mom, I don't go anywhere. I went there to study, not to roam around," Camilla replied. "Granddaughter, why is that so?" "Once I finish university, I'll explore the whole city, visit every corner, and you both will come to see me, and we'll wander together through the most beautiful places." Camilla's professors were very pleased with her and predicted a brilliant future for her. Each compliment inspired her, and she immersed herself even more passionately in her studies, her knowledge extending well beyond the university curriculum. While studying in her third year, Camilla overheard a conversation among three guys in the university corridor. They were discussing a scientific topic she was familiar with and highly interested in. Camilla approached them, modestly and politely correcting one of the guys whose statement seemed inaccurate. "Yes, you're probably right. I'm not here to argue with you." The guy seemed clearly surprised. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Elliot," he said. "I'm Camilla," the girl replied, blushing. "If your lectures are over, I'd be delighted to walk with you. It would be very interesting to talk to you," Elliot suggested. Camilla hesitated, recalling her grandmother's advice not to get acquainted with anyone, especially with local residents. And this guy, so polite and intelligent, was undoubtedly a city dweller. On the other hand, nothing terrible would happen if they talked about science. "I live in the dormitory. It's not far from here," Camilla stammered. "Then I suggest we take a short walk. You're not from around here, right? I'd be glad to show you a few interesting places. I'm sure you haven't been there," Elliot said. "I haven't been anywhere," Camilla admitted. After the walk, Elliot escorted Camilla back to the dormitory. "Girls, come over here quickly." One of Camilla's roommates stood by the window. "Look, some guy is seeing off our village girl." "Yes, and he's handsome, wearing an expensive suit." "That's true. And look at our Camilla, still in her grandma's dress." When Camilla entered the room, her roommates bombarded her with questions. "That's Elliot," Camilla responded, feeling flustered. "He's a fifth-year student at our university." "Do you have a thing going on between you?" Camilla didn't know how to answer. "No, what are you talking about? We just happened to meet at the university today. Elliot suggested discussing a scientific topic. He's a handsome guy. Be careful, Camilla. He's not the right match for you." "Oh, come on. Girls, we were just talking about science. He said he found our conversation very interesting," the girl beamed. Camilla and Elliot continued to meet, and he showed her around the city. Camilla often wrote letters back home, now including stories about the places she had visited. Of course, she didn't mention Elliot, but her grandmother sensed something was amiss. "Looks like our Camilla has fallen in love," her grandmother teased. "Mom, what are you saying? She's still focused on her studies, nothing else," her mother defended. "She didn't used to be like this. Now she's constantly going out. Surely she's not alone on those outings," her grandmother persisted. "Of course she's not alone. She goes out with her friends." "Oh, this can't be good." Meanwhile, Camilla herself didn't understand what was happening to her. It was as if she had fallen ill. No matter how hard she tried to focus on her studies, Elliot was the only thing on her mind. "What am I doing?" Camilla horrified. "I need to study. My professors are already unhappy with me. No more meetings until I finish university." But Elliot kept inviting her on walks, and Camilla would agree, forgetting all about her studies. Elliot came from a family of professors, and Camilla was well aware of the inequality. "Elliot, what's going to happen next?" she asked after 6 months of knowing him. "How will your parents react to me? I'm just a provincial girl from a simple family without a father." "Why does it matter to my parents?" Elliot genuinely seemed surprised, with no intention of introducing her to them. "And I've asked you so many times. Call me by my full name, not the shortened version." Soon, Elliot got heavily involved in a project and their meetings became rare. They mostly saw each other within the university walls, exchanging only a few phrases. "Falling in love, huh?" Leona sneered, seeing Camilla say goodbye to Elliot on the university steps. Camilla walked away without saying a word. "Camilla, are you upset? I have something to discuss with you," Leona continued. "We have nothing to discuss," Camilla replied softly. "But still, listen to me. I have a lot of academic debts. Can you help me? And in return, I'll gift you a ticket to the seaside." Camilla had never been to the sea. She had dreamed of visiting it since childhood, but back then there was no opportunity, and in truth, there wasn't one now either. And here it was, a chance. "Leona, why did you choose this major? What kind of specialist will you become if others do your work for you? How will you pass your exams?" Camilla scolded her. "Well, that's none of your concern. Will you help me or not? I wasn't joking about the tickets to the seaside." "All right," Camilla reluctantly agreed. Leona had many debts, and Camilla immersed herself in helping her, which helped distract her from missing Elliot. As the time for Elliot's final exams approached, Camilla saw him less frequently. She suffered, but while she could endure the separation, the uncertainty and the thought of what the future would hold were unbearable and kept her restless. On the day when Elliot defended his diploma, Camilla was nervous like never before during her own exams. But her anxiety was in vain. Elliot did everything perfectly. "What are your plans for the future?" Camilla asked, looking into his eyes hopefully. "I want to relax in the summer and then I'll start working, Elliot replied. Camilla felt disappointed by his answer. He didn't mention anything about her. But she couldn't gather the courage to ask directly. I'm leaving for home in 3 days. And in August, I'm going to the seaside. Camilla shared her joy. I'm going to the seaside in August too, with my parents, Elliot said discontentedly. Don't you want to go to the seaside? Camilla noticed his dissatisfaction. We go to visit my mother's sister every year, my aunt. Boring. I'd rather go somewhere with my friends, but how can I refuse? We must visit relatives. As it turned out, Camilla and Elliot would be vacationing at the seaside at the same time, and not far from each other. That makes me happy already, Elliot exclaimed. I'll escape from my boring parents and come visit you. Camilla was over the moon with happiness. She couldn't have dreamt of such a gift from fate, going to the seaside for the first time, and with her beloved by her side. That September day turned out to be warm and rainy, and the lecture hall was very stuffy. Camilla had to leave the lecture. She felt unwell. She didn't think much of it, but her condition continued to worsen throughout the following week. I heard you went to the seaside in August, her roommate asked, looking at Camilla lying on her bed. So, how was your vacation? Did you enjoy it? Yes, I loved it. It was my first time at the seaside, Camilla replied. Do you even know where to find him now? Her roommate asked. Find who? Well, the father of the child. What child? I don't understand. What are you talking about, Lucy? You really don't understand what's happening to you? No, it can't be, Camilla whispered. And what about university? Our star student, an honor student. No, Lucy, it's not what you think. Sure. The next day, feeling just as unwell, Camilla went to the hospital. Her fears were confirmed. Will Elliot be happy? Camilla doubted. Since they returned from the resort, they hardly saw each other, and Elliot always claimed to be busy. When Elliot heard the news, he wasn't happy at all. Camilla, you understand, now is not the time for a child. Not for me, not for you. I just started my job, and you still have 2 years of studying ahead. You are a very, very smart girl. You must finish university. What should I do, my love? Well, I don't know. It's up to you to decide, but I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready to be a husband or a father. Camilla, sobbing, ran away. Elliot wanted to catch up with her, but changed his mind. In the evening, a female security guard came to Camilla's room. Camilla, come downstairs. Someone is waiting for you. Elliot came! Camilla exclaimed, hoping he had changed his mind. Instead of Elliot, Camilla saw an unfamiliar woman. The woman looked well-groomed and was well-dressed. Camilla immediately guessed who she was. Did Elliot tell you? Camilla asked softly. Listen, girl, you won't tie my son to you with a child. And, by the way, does this child even exist, or did you make it up? I was in the hospital today. I have proof, Camilla replied. Don't ruin my son's life. It's just beginning. He has no intention of marrying you, and his father and I won't allow him to do so. I understand you plan to give up the child. I've already made up my mind. Of course I'll give up the child. I don't need anything from you. Well, calm down. Leave your pride aside. I know your family isn't wealthy. Think about how you'll support the child. Here. The woman handed her an envelope. Understand me. Don't say a word to anyone. Everything Camilla had dreamed of since childhood didn't come true. She had to drop out of university. Camilla didn't dare to tell her family about her situation. In her letters, she wrote that she was studying and everything was going great. She didn't come home for holidays, claiming she had internships and extra work. Basically, a lot of responsibilities. Camilla's mother found out about her grandchild when Neil was already 2 years old. Camilla came to her grandmother's funeral with him. She had no one to leave him with. Oh, what is this? Her mother exclaimed. My daughter, why didn't you tell us anything? I'm ashamed, Mom. You and Grandma had such hopes for me. I dreamed that I'd finish my studies, get a good job, and help you so you wouldn't need anything. You've done so much for me. And I didn't live up to your expectations. It's okay, my dear, it's okay. What now? At least I have such a lovely grandson. But where is his father? We broke up. He never even saw his son once. He doesn't need him. Camilla sighed heavily. I told you so, just like Grandma did, and you didn't listen, her mother scolded. Mom! All right. Your grandmother had some savings left. Take them. No, Mom, I won't take them. I can handle it. Are you working, dear? Yes, as a janitor. Camilla, come back home. You'll find a better job here. No, Mom, I'll stay there. I became a janitor because they provided me with staff housing. I'll work for 9 more years and get my own apartment. 9 years? As a janitor? You are so intelligent. You should be using your brains, not a broom and shovel. I have no regrets. Camilla waved her hand, lovingly looking at her son. At 4 in the morning, the alarm clock rang. The janitor's workday starts early. Before leaving, Camilla carefully adjusted the blanket that had fallen off Neil. Time flies quickly, and Neil is already going to school. The boy has become independent and responsible. He wakes up on his own, heats up breakfast, gets ready, and goes to school. Lately, Neil often asked about his father. Like any boy his age, he dreams of having a strong and brave dad, a father he would be proud of and look up to in everything. What could Camilla say? Elliot never showed any interest in his son over these 8 years, as if he didn't exist. Camilla heard that Elliot got married 5 years ago. She didn't seek meetings with him. Why bother? If he doesn't want his son, then so be it. Neil, such a tender and kind boy, certainly didn't deserve his father's indifference. It was pouring rain outside. There was even more work to do than yesterday. Her back ached, but Camilla was not one to complain about her fate. She got to work. The city was still asleep, deserted and dark. Only the dim light of street lamps slightly illuminated her way. In the distance, Camilla saw something big. She squinted her eyes. Is that an old carpet someone threw away? What kind of people do that? Just tossing it on the street? No respect for my work, Camilla lamented. As she got closer, she was surprised. It wasn't a carpet. It was a man. Sir, wake up! Camilla tried to rouse him. Can you hear me? It's cold. You'll freeze, and I can't lift you. The stranger mumbled something incoherent, but he looked quite decent. Nothing like an alcoholic. Sir, come on, get up. I can't just leave you here. Sir, can you hear me? It's already early morning. Surely someone at home is waiting and worrying about you. The man continued to mumble. Camilla rushed to the adjacent street where a sturdy man in his 60s was working. He should be able to help. She couldn't just abandon the man. Help! Camilla ran up to him. There's a man lying on the sidewalk over there. What, is he dead or something? Oh, don't say such things. I don't need that right now. He's alive. Alive. Seems like he's drunk. Well, if he's drunk, call the police. He looks like a decent person. Come on, who hasn't had a rough night? Why ruin his life? Please help? All right, let's go. But where should we take him? Where? Camilla hesitated. Maybe to my place? Are you crazy? You want to carry a stranger to your home? What if he's a criminal? But I'm telling you, he looks like a decent person. Well, it's your call. Show me where this decent person is lying. They brought the man to Camilla's home and went back to the apartment. Camilla tried to finish her work as quickly as possible. What have I done? She blamed herself mentally. I brought a stranger into my home. What if he's a criminal? Well, there's nothing valuable in the apartment, but the most precious thing in my life is there. My son, Neil. No, I need to rush back home, even if it means getting reprimanded at work. Grabbing a shovel, Camilla ran back home. Neil must have woken up by now, or at least, according to the time, he should be having breakfast. Neil? Camilla called out from the doorway. Hush, hush, she heard a pleasant male voice. Neil has a fever. I found the necessary medicine in the first aid kit, gave it to him, and put him to bed. What fever? I just left over 2 hours ago and he didn't have a fever then. I'm sorry, I don't think you checked. I didn't check, Camilla replied thoughtfully, remembering that Neil was sleeping, having kicked off the blanket. Is the fever high? Yes, but don't worry. The medicine should already be taking effect. You know about medicines? Usually men don't know a single pill. Perhaps most men don't, he smiled, but my profession obliges me to. You're a doctor? Yes, the guest proudly confirmed. Wow, a doctor indeed, lying drunk on the street. Please don't think badly of me, the man blushed. It just happened. I apologize for any inconvenience I've caused you. I don't actually drink at all. You see, I got a promotion at work and they appointed me head of the department. I decided to celebrate with my colleagues at a restaurant. I know that alcohol is contraindicated for me, and I didn't plan on drinking, but I couldn't resist the persuasions of my colleagues. Be thankful for the profession of a janitor, Camilla remarked. Otherwise, who knows how long you would have lain in that puddle. What a shame. Thank you so much for saving me. By the way, my name is Harold. I'm Camilla. I'm very glad to meet you. It's time for you to leave. Your family must be looking for you, and I need to work. No one is waiting for me. I live alone. Give me your shovel. Why? Let's go. I could use some fresh air and work right now. Harold placed his hand on Neil's sleeping forehead. The fever has gone down. Let's go, Camilla said. When Camilla returned home, Neil was already awake. How do you feel, sweetie? My throat hurts. Where is Uncle Harold? He left. When will he come back? Why should he come back? He's a stranger to us. He was freezing on the street, so I let him warm up inside. Uncle Harold is very nice. I told him I wanted to learn ice skating, and he promised to take me to the rink when I get better. Get well, my dear, and I promise to take you to the rink. I promise, Camilla winked. Great. So I'll go to the rink twice, once with you and the other with Uncle Harold. Neil, forget about Uncle Harold. He won't come back. He will. You'll see. He promised me. Camilla called the doctor and went to work. Harold should have finished his work by now, and she needed to return his tools. To her surprise, Camilla found that the job was done thoroughly. However, Harold had already left. Later that evening, it started raining again. The next morning, as usual, Camilla headed to work. She decided not to take sick leave since Neil was feeling better. Arriving at her work area, Camilla was astonished to find that the sidewalks were neatly cleaned. What kind of miracle was this? Returning home, Camilla saw a shovel near the front door, the one Harold had borrowed. Next to it, there was a box. At home, Camilla opened the box and found ice skates for Neil inside. Neil was still asleep. Camilla smiled, looking at him. He'll be so happy. He dreamt of such a gift. And indeed, Neil was thrilled when he saw the ice skates. Thank you so much, Mom. You're the best. He hugged her. Neil, this gift is not from me. Camilla couldn't lie to her son. It doesn't matter. You're still the best. Did Uncle Harold bring the skates? I think so. Hooray! I'll recover very soon, and Uncle Harold will take me to the ice rink, Neil exclaimed. No, Neil. I'll take you to the ice rink, Camilla said. So we'll all go together, Neil insisted. What a stubborn boy. Why are you so fixated on Uncle Harold? Uncle Harold? Camilla smiled. 3 months passed. You won't go to work tomorrow, Harold smiled. My wife shouldn't be working as a janitor. Your wife? Camilla asked in surprise. Yes. Camilla, I want you to be my wife. And I want you to be Uncle Harold's wife. Neil came running from the other room, overhearing the conversation. Then Uncle Harold will become my dad. I agree. Camilla couldn't hold back her tears.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the ninth grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, "I'm very sorry." Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, "Get his boss here immediately." It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. "What is that idiot doing?" "All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next." Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. "If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you." I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. "Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize." Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? "I'm very sorry." Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hope to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.